The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Pro Wrestling Report PrimeTime Television. We're going to talk about WWE Raw from this past Monday night, along with TNA Impact from this past Thursday night, and last Sunday's Victory Road on pay-per-view. We've also got Counterpoint, Star of the Week, and the History Book, looking back at Wrestlemania 8. The Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Television starts right now, right here on My 24 Milwaukee.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime TV, the longest-running pro wrestling news program in the world, with your hosts, David Hero and Damian Nelson.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Television for Saturday, March 24th, 2012. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero.
That's it? I finally get the proper introduction?
There's nothing proper about you.
I forgot the Hall of Famer.
Let's talk about professional wrestling, and in this week's top story, we're going to first talk about the big epic showdown this past Monday night on Raw between Triple H, The Undertaker, and Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. Obviously, they all involved in that main event matchup at Wrestlemania, the Hell in a Cell match, where Triple H will take on The Undertaker with the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee. Now, this was the headlining moment of Raw this past Monday night, and it was touted as the end of an era all night long. They said so much. They said so much to each other. They said so much to us. And there were several things that I think really are worth discussing. Firstly being The Undertaker saying to the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels that this match must remain pure.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a knockdown, drag-out battle between two legendary first ballot Hall of Famers in Triple H and The Undertaker.
Obviously, with the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels being the special guest referee, purity is what The Undertaker seeks in this matchup. But they continue to raise a level of doubt as to how much purity there will be in the match. Is Triple H aligned with Shawn Michaels? Is Shawn Michaels aligned with The Undertaker? Or any of those scenarios could play out. Does this add the necessary amount of doubt to this matchup to make it more relevant? Because arguably, last year's matchup between Triple H and The Undertaker had an amazing amount of doubt behind it, because you thought that there was that chance that Triple H could defeat The Undertaker and end the streak. Are we in a similar situation this year by what we've seen so far?
I think there's a lot of fans that are going to have doubt because Shawn Michaels is the special guest referee, which I still don't get, because why? Hell in a Cell is a no DQ match. There's no reason for a referee except to ring the bell and to end the bell. But
they'll make the 3 count.
Well, yeah, but that's it, the beginning and the end. Everything else in between, it doesn't make a difference. So, yes, some of the fans are going to be like, oh, he's going to side with Triple H. Otherwise, well, is he jealous of Triple H? So, yeah, there's doubt there, but I think at the end of the day, when this match is finished, it will be that pure match. I mean, there's going to be some shenanigans, without a doubt, that are going to go on between both guys. I'm sure Shawn Michaels will do some things in favor of H and some things in favor of Taker.
To keep that doubt going throughout the entire match.
Throughout the entire match, absolutely.
You got to look back to SummerSlam 1997, East Rutherford, New Jersey. The match was heart and soul. It was The Undertaker versus Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels was the special guest referee in that matchup. It would ultimately be a loogie, a chair, and The Undertaker getting counted out 1, 2, 3, with Bret Hart being the victor in that matchup because of Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels has said in interviews that that was the night he went from being the #1 heel in the company to #2, because the fans were so upset with Shawn Michaels for what he did. Shawn Michaels is not going to leave WrestleMania to booze. There's no way. He is the showstopper. He is the Hall of Famer. He's not going to become the most hated guy on the planet in Miami.
He would only do that by screwing over The Undertaker. If he were to screw over Triple H, what would be the ramifications
either way,
for that?
Both ways.
Really?
He's got to call this match right down the middle.
Like Bill Alfonso?
Absolutely. without the whistle.
Will this match be pure? If you had to predict right now, meaning will it be right down the middle? Will it be a 1, 2, 3 count? Will there be no drama coming out of it? And the reason I ask that is because they've set up so much.
What's so funny?
They've set up so much. They've set up so much. There's a bug on you.
Really?
I don't get it. What the heck? I think it fell down off that microphone.
Will you leave your family at home?
There is so much expectation in this matchup for shenanigans, as you say. So, how could they not have any? How could this be a pure match with the way it's being set up? That's the piece I can't understand.
Well, there's going to be, but it'll all balance itself out. There'll be plenty of balance, and at the end, Shawn Michaels will not be involved in the finish except for the 3 count.
Will he receive a tombstone?
No.
Will he receive a pedigree?
He might. No, not at all.
Will there be sweet chin music?
At the end of the match, I'm predicting all 3 men will stand together and hug each other.
Oh, that's cute.
It's the end of an era. It is not only the end of The Undertaker, but it's also the end of DX.
Have they been telling us all along with this end of an era discussion? Have they been telling us all along that this will be The Undertaker's final WrestleMania matchup?
I don't know. I think it's going to be just the end of this series. I don't think that these guys are going to go further anymore. I think Triple H and Undertaker and Shawn Michaels will still have special guest appearances, special attractions and whatnot, but we will never see another Triple H versus Undertaker match again.
What reason does The Undertaker have to wrestle at WrestleMania 29? He'll be 20-0 if he wins this year at WrestleMania. 20 years undefeated at WrestleMania. It's a great number to end it with. After Triple H, who else have you got? Maybe an Orton, maybe a Cena, whatever.
Cena will be busy with The Rock next year.
So if you're The Undertaker, why bother? Especially given the fact that in the last 12 months, he's wrestled 2 matches. He will have wrestled 2 matches.
It's because he is a headliner. He's a special attraction for WrestleMania. I think the streak means just as much as the CM Punk Jericho match, just as much as John Cena and The Rock.
I still wonder, though, what motivation does The Undertaker have to do it again?
It's a hell of a payday. Come on, it's The Undertaker. You know what? Whatever happens after Miami, it's not going to make a difference. 20-0 will never be touched. He can lose next year. That's fine. Go right ahead.
That taints the whole thing.
No, Cal Ripken ended his streak. Brett Favre ended his. Streaks are meant to be broken. Number 4. Number 1 in your heart. Number 4.
You only named 2 people.
And Undertaker. That's 3 streaks.
Well, this is definitely presenting itself as one of the main matchups at WrestleMania and one of the main events at WrestleMania. And I think it's interesting because this was, as I said, the headlining moment of Raw this past Monday night. And Rock and Cena were just about an afterthought, but that's fine. Because overall, and we'll talk much more about Raw later, but overall, a solid action-packed edition of Raw. But this week, the pacing took WWE in a way where this was the most important thing to be presented forward.
But I don't know if it was the most important thing on the show. I don't know if ending it with Taker, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H was as strong as we had hoped for.
The crowd was silent. But I took that as...
It was the only time in the night, if you think about it, where the lights around the ring were dimmed until the very end. So you were forced to focus on the 3 guys in the ring.
Yeah.
Not the PWR show sign in the audience, DWHS sign. It was only the guys in the ring. Very interesting. No other segment had that.
Well, let's look forward. Let's look forward to WrestleMania because coming up, WrestleMania Sunday right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a big, big event. You have the opportunity to watch WrestleMania at no charge to you. It's a free view, sponsored by the Pro Wrestling Report and Karma Bar and Grill. That's going to be at Karma Bar and Grill, 600 East Ogden, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Karma presenting the opportunity to come watch WrestleMania 28 on the big screen. Meathead and the Kaz will be in attendance at
that right there is
Karma.
gonna be a mess.
So you can
Those
come on
2 guys.
down. They'll have some prizes to give away and a lot of fun to be had. That's at Karma Bar and Grill, Sunday, April 1st for WrestleMania 28. Free viewing. It's going to be a comfortable experience and an exciting experience from WrestleMania in Milwaukee at Karma Bar and Grill. Be sure to come on down and check that out. Support the Pro Wrestling Report and our great partner, Karma Bar and Grill. We'll be right back right after this.
Coming to Miami, it's the most anticipated event of the year, Wrestlemania. And now, in an epic once-in-a-lifetime matchup, see The Rock battle John Cena. It's Wrestlemania, live in Miami. Tickets available now.
And you can watch it free at Karma Bar and Grill with the Pro Wrestling Report team of Frank and Meathead.
This is Davey Richards, Ring of Honor World Champion, and you're watching Pro Wrestling Report on My 24, Milwaukee.
The Pro Wrestling Report presents the Shenanigans Beach Party, hosted by Big Sexy Kevin Nash and Shawn X-Pac Waltman. Join us at one of the best clubs on South Beach, Ocean's 10, located at 960 Ocean Drive, on Friday, March 30th, starting at 7 p.m. The Shenanigans Beach Party will feature appearances by Billy Gunn, TNA TV champion Robbie E., former WWE Tag Team champions The Headbangers, Shane Hurricane Helms, along with others. Tickets for the biggest wrestling party ever are on sale now at pwrshow.com and start at just $15.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Television. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Hero on My 24 Milwaukee. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. Let's talk now about WWE and what was a very loaded show this past Monday night on Raw. So many things happened, but the beginning is what really launched the show. CM Punk and Chris Jericho getting more personal. And CM Punk coming out, he explains the situation with his father being an alcoholic, but he's recovered. He's proud of him. That's why Punk is straight edge.
I'm not laughing about that. It's just funny how the whole thing transcends.
And then CM Punk announces or tells everyone that Chris Jericho is not in the building tonight. Well, we would then see Chris Jericho appear via satellite. Jericho would apologize for what he said about CM Punk's father, and then would guarantee that he would never talk about Punk's father on Raw again. And it was the pause and the next statement that made this segment tremendous. Because Jericho would then say, but your sister, and would then go into a whole story about his sister's drug abuse and the problems that she may have faced, which incensed CM Punk, caused him to lash out with several expletives and attempt to, I guess, go find CM Punk via satellite. I'm sorry, find Jericho via satellite. This was a hot angle to start Monday Night Raw. Hot discussion between these two, and it seems as if the fire has been lit under this WWE Championship matchup at WrestleMania.
And this match is going to have a ton of heat. The fans are going to boo Jericho. They're going to love Punk. Some are going to love Jericho and hate Punk. This match is going to have a real knockdown, drag-out fight feel to it.
They can do it.
You're going to see an aggressive CM Punk chase Chris Jericho all around Miami. It's going to be a great match. Finally, there's emotion involved in this match, not just two guys name-calling back and forth. Now CM Punk has a real reason to want to beat up Chris Jericho.
It was so brilliantly executed by both men because you feel it. You feel the personal touch in this story. You feel the emotional drama in this story. And arguably, there's not many people better than a Chris Jericho who could be involved in this story and deliver it in such a way that it was delivered because, quite frankly, he was perfection this past Monday night.
Well, Chris Jericho, he is that guy. He's the antagonist. He's sarcastic. He's witty. And he does it. No, I'm not talking about you. And he does it. His delivery is what it is. You know, when he was done talking about his father, but sister was. How could you not smirk and smile and laugh a little bit?
I didn't smirk or smile. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you know, it's like, okay, yes. I get it.
And pulled closer to the television is what I did.
This here proves that this is going to be the sleeper match at WrestleMania. Everyone's talking about Hell in a Cell, Cena and Rock. But Punk and Jericho is going to be the match that steals the show.
The Rock gets physical this past Monday night, giving the rock bottom to Mark Henry. Not much face-to-face interaction with he and John Cena. However, you all on our Facebook page again felt that this was the Rock's week on WWE Raw. Good or bad direction for Rock and Cena, no face-to-face interaction?
I think it's perfect. I think they've had plenty of face-to-face interaction. They've had plenty of smack talking back and forth. For me as a wrestling fan, now I just want to see him fight. I'm tired of the rock concerts, the rap battles, everything, the fruity pebbles, the eyebrows, the notes on the wrist, the whole thing. It is now time to get in the ring and have the big showdown, the big payoff.
On SmackDown this past Friday night, we found out that Yokozuna is the next person to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Well-deserved for Yokozuna.
Absolutely.
Who was a big part of WWE in the early 90s, the late, great Yokozuna. Mark Henry finally gets a win, David Hero, over R-Truth on SmackDown Friday night. It's been, how long has it been since Mark Henry's won a match?
It's been forever. Poor Mark Henry.
Has it been as long as The Miz has been losing matchups? Because he got pinned again this past Friday night on SmackDown.
Who would have thought
by
that
Danny
two
Bryan.
of your main guys, Mark Henry and The Miz, would be in such a funk going into WrestleMania?
Two of whose main guys?
You love Mark Henry. He's on your team Nelson. And then you have The Miz. He's like your, I don't know, your boy, whatever you want to call him.
I'll call him ruined because you single-handedly ruined his career. You know, and by the way, speaking of which, we have a major announcement to make here on this program.
Yes, especially about The Miz. Let's not forget.
No, we have a major announcement about Cody Rhodes.
Oh, that's fine, but let's not forget Monday Night Meltdown, King Kong Bundy to address The Miz's comments from Raw.
It's time now, ladies and gentlemen, to go to this week's Star of the Week. That's you, David.
Star of the Week? Well, there's only one person we can have Star of the Week. You know, these sheets are all
right
out of
there.
order.
What do you mean out of order?
Look.
It says Star of the Week, WWE Report. Go. You're burning tape here. You got 45 seconds.
Color-coded. Listen, Star of the Week. TNA's Victory Road pay-per-view was fantastic. Good match between Jeff Hardy and Kurt Angle. Who would have thought a year ago Jeff Hardy was on the outs from TNA Wrestling? Sent home, he was a complete mess. The match he had with Kurt Angle was #tremendous.
It was an excellent match. One of the best matchups I've seen in a while.
My Star of the Week goes to Jeff Hardy. He may not have won, but he showed the world he's back.
Well deserved for sure, and 1 year later, an amazing journey for Jeff Hardy. Very proud of him, and you got to give Kurt Angle credit for that match as well, too. But that is this week's Star of the Week. Jeff Hardy, is he a first-timer?
Absolutely.
Feels like it.
Yes.
Huh. Well, speaking of first times, the first time ever, PWR is going to be hosting a Shenanigans Beach Party. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be on Friday, March 30th on South Beach in Miami, Florida, in conjunction with Wrestlemania 28. The party will be hosted by Kevin Nash and X-Pac.
I thought I was hosting the party.
You'll be there, you'll be working, you'll be busy. Kevin Nash and X-Pac, the official hosts for the party. However, David Hero, since we initially announced this party, several more huge names have been added to the roster, if you will. A total of 11 huge stars.
11?
11.
That's one hell of a
huge
bar
stars
tab.
appearing at Shenanigans Beach Party at Ocean's 10, Friday night, March 30th. Open to all of you over the age of 18 out there in WrestleMania world. Let's go over those names. The people who have been added, David Hero.
You went like, you hit me here.
The people who have been added to the list of participants in Shenanigans Beach Party. Harry Smith. Big Rob Terry is going to be there with Robbie
You're endorsed Rob Terry.
The WWE Hall of Fame diva, Sunny.
That's Shenanigans right
Scheduled
there.
to be a part of the event, along with Rikishi. He's going to be backing that thing up at Ocean's 10 in Orlando and Miami, Florida, and also Diamond Dallas Page. Self-High Five, bang. All those people in one place on one night with one great event.
And we still got Billy Gunn.
Billy Gunn, absolutely, the Headbangers.
The Headbangers.
Also part of the party.
My goodness.
Had been already announced.
And there's other people showing up unannounced.
Stop, don't tell them. No, remember?
All right, I won't say who they are.
Cody's terms are very specific. Very, very specific. You can get your tickets right now at pwrshow.com. We're not lying when we say there are only a limited number of VIP tickets remaining. VIP gets you early access and a guaranteed opportunity to have personal interaction with several of these talents. All the details right now at pwrshow.com. General admission tickets start at only $15. Shenanigans Beach Party, Friday, May 30th at Ocean's 10 on South Beach in Miami in conjunction with WrestleMania 28. Still to come here on the Pro Wrestling Report, we're going to talk about TNA Victory Road from last Sunday night, along with Impact from this past Thursday. We've got Point, Counterpoint, and the history book looking back at WrestleMania 8. This is the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time. We'll be right back.
Saturday, March 31st. History will be made for internet wrestling fans. 3 of the biggest shows for wrestling commentary will come together for a WrestleMania weekend special. Pro Wrestling Report's Damian Nelson and David Hero will join with Aftermath's Artur Ocal and Jimmy Corderas, who will join with Chairshot Reality's Justin LaBar and Josh Eisenberg for a WrestleMania special weekend. Friday from 7 till close, join the three shows at the second annual Kevin Nash WrestleMania party at Ocean's 10. VIP tickets are $99. General admission ticket is $15. Tickets can be purchased at pwrshow.com. Saturday, history will be made as the three shows come together on camera. 1 p.m. at Shucker's Bar and Grill. Come be a part of the taping for the WrestleMania special that will air WrestleMania Sunday on WrestleZone.com. All ages are welcome to come get their face on camera during the taping, then hang out with the whole crew on the beautiful patio at Shucker's Bar and Grill.
Hello, this is Jeff Hardy, the Charismatic Enigma, and you're watching the Pro Wrestling Report on My 24 Milwaukee.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time here on My 24 Milwaukee.
There's bugs all over this place.
Sitting next to David Hero. You know, I went to the Mob Museum in Vegas, speaking of bugs all over this place, last week. And I will endorse that facility. It was a tremendous experience, especially for me.
Is it a concrete building?
Loves the Mob. It is a former courthouse / U.S. Post Office. So, yes, it is a concrete building.
How about that?
Let's talk about this week's Point Counterpoint, ladies and gentlemen. Our subject for Point Counterpoint this week is, should TNA Wrestling allow Ric Flair to appear at the WWE Hall of Fame induction ceremony? David Hero, you've got the for, I've got the against. We'll go ahead and give you the opportunity to start. Oh, with that ridiculous.
Hey, he's back. Why can't I? Ric Flair absolutely should be allowed to be at the Hall of Fame in Miami, Florida.
Should be.
Why do you ask? Because it's TNA Wrestling. TNA needs some more mainstream publicity. When the fans see Ric Flair, they'll be like, hey, where has Ric Flair been? They'll Google search, they'll YouTube search, they'll look on Twitter and Facebook, and they will then learn that Ric Flair has been in TNA for the past couple years, maybe get some new fans going forward. It's great for TNA, it's great for Ric Flair, and it's great for every wrestling fan out there.
And, of course, that point is completely irrelevant to the counterpoint I will make, which is that TNA has nothing to gain from this at all. They have absolutely nothing to gain from this. WWE is not going to say, hey, this is TNA superstar or TNA star Ric Flair. You can see Flair Thursday nights on Impact. The only way TNA should allow Flair to do this, and I'm against it, the only way TNA should allow Flair to do this is if WWE is paying them $100,000, $250,000, whatever. Give them some money, give them some promotional time on Raw, whatever else. Do some kind of behind-the-scenes deal to let your contracted talent appear on their programming, because they wouldn't do the same to you. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. That's why I'm against.
You mean to tell me that TNA would turn down the opportunity to have John Cena walk on their show?
I didn't say that at all.
Yeah,
WWE would never offer that opportunity. That's the difference. That's this week's Point Counterpoint, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of which, let's roll into our TNA Wrestling Report. This past Sunday night, we did do a radio post show on TNA Victory Road, talking about the pay-per-view in its entirety. But as you mentioned in Star of the Week, David Hero, what a match between Jeff Hardy and Kurt Angle.
Both guys, ring generals, stole the show.
It was the Jeff Hardy of old. It was the Jeff Hardy we've all come to remember. It was an excellent matchup between those two, and you gotta talk about how great both those talents are individually, because it takes two to tango, and they delivered a multiple star match.
And it was two completely different styles of wrestler.
Absolutely.
You have the ground and pound Kurt Angle and the high flying Jeff Hardy, and they made it work. Who would have thought a year ago, or last year, that this year, this time, that match could actually be pulled off?
Devon is the brand new TNA television champion, defeating Robbie E.
Amazing. They finally get a young stud in Robbie E, who's starting to build some steam behind him with Big Rob Terry as his bouncer, I guess you could say.
You know I'm on the list.
And they bring back Devon, a guy that hasn't been on TV in a couple months, and make him the new TNA Television Impact Wrestling Champion. Why? Why not give the young guy an opportunity to go over on a recognizable name?
Robbie's had that belt for a while, though.
But he hasn't been on TV that much because they don't use him. So who would have thought that the Dudley Boys, Devon and Bubba Ray, would have such prominent roles in TNA wrestling right now?
Well, Bully Ray definitely deserves it. Devon arguably does, but Bully Ray has proven it more so recently. due to the opportunities he's been given and taken, rather, than anything Devon has done. I was a little disappointed to see this title change hands, only because, as you said, I think Robbie E. is a vastly marketable talent in TNA Impact Wrestling. But I want.
He's supposed to bring the belt to the party.
Right, yeah. Have to renegotiate some things with them, huh? Bobby Roode defeats Sting and attacks TNA president, owner Dixie Carter after the matchup. David Hero, the match itself was really not much to talk about, aside from the fact that I think Sting held his own. I think that it was a decent match. It wasn't a bad match. It did everything it needed to do. The after the match, though, I thought initially was brilliant. Dixie Carter, Bobby Roode going after Carter, the things he said to her, the things he did to her for the first 2 minutes were tremendous. The next 5?
Yeah, went on way too long. I would have rather have seen Bobby Roode cheat to win to beat Sting than for Sting to beat himself.
Thursday on Impact, we would see Dixie Carter call for the firing of Roode. We would see Sting step in and say, no, don't fire him. You've got a big match at Lockdown. Give James Storm his opportunity. And by the way, I'm stepping down. We should put Hogan in charge of the show. Hogan would come out later. Dixie would agree. Hogan would come out later in the show and not really give a clear answer as to whether or not he's going to take charge of Impact. Very smart for TNA if they can get Hogan on TV each and every week in a role that is effective enough where he's not overutilized and one where he does not become a parody of himself.
Let's just hope he doesn't come out and face paint and act like, the Riddler or something.
It's this week's TNA Report. Let's go to this week's history book, where we are going to take a look back at WWE's WrestleMania 8. It's WrestleMania season, and we're going to take a look back at one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time, Indianapolis, Indiana. It was the matchup. It was the matchup that saw Ric Flair versus Randy Savage, Mr. Perfect, Bobby Heenan on commentary, Elizabeth at ringside, shenanigans galore, Flair a bloody mess. It was a handful of tights that ultimately caused the win. What a great performance by those two veterans.
Two guys that can go in the ring, legends, Hall of Famers, the Macho Man and Ric Flair.
And that was for the championship.
Yeah, it was. The Macho Man becomes the new champion. Shortly thereafter, I believe Ric Flair leaves.
Yeah. Well, he'd go for another 6-7 months.
But talk about Ric Flair and Randy Savage, really the undercard.
Right.
To Hogan and Sid.
It's much like this year's WrestleMania, where a lot of big matches are quote-unquote the undercard. And another one of those big matches was Bret the Hitman Hart versus Roddy Piper, a tremendous Intercontinental Championship matchup. But I vividly remember that promo before the match where Piper and Hart, with Mean Gene in the middle, had a verbal sparring, which ended with Piper pulling a belt from behind his belt and getting ready to clock Hart with it. It was just greatness.
And that was, I think, the first time during Roddy Piper's tenure where he was pinned for a 1-2-3.
Yeah. And it was his first singles championship he had held, I believe, as well in WWE.
WWE, yes.
The big moment of that night, though, would be the return of the Ultimate Warrior, which would happen at the very end of the pay-per-view. Hogan and Sid, as you said, Papa Shango involved. It was a mess. It really was. And that visual of the Ultimate Warrior running down that aisle, his music hitting, he hadn't been seen for a long time. It was before the internet, all that stuff. It was a tremendous night in Indianapolis.
And everyone thought it was a different Warrior. His hair was shorter.
He got a haircut.
Shorter
tassels.
It looked like he fell out of the dryer. He's a little bit smaller. And yeah, it was fantastic. It was very exciting.
That's this week's history book, ladies and gentlemen. I want to remind all of you to follow Cody Rhodes on Twitter, at Cody Rhodes WWE on Twitter.
Serious?
At Cody Rhodes WWE on Twitter. And make sure you let him know that I have been standing firmly by his side as an endorsement.
Not behind him.
It's Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in to this week's PWR Primetime. We'll see you next week for a special WrestleMania edition of Primetime from Miami, Florida. Thank you so much for tuning in.